What's going on everyone, my name is CakeyC and welcome to the channel. So this upload is yet another addition to the setup series and we're focusing on the CR-56 Amax, also known as the Galil. I'll leave a link down in the description below if you want to check out some of the other guns we've had a look at, and I did do a video about the Amax before when they nerfed the Grau, and I kind of thought that the Amax might start creeping up the ladder once the Grau was out the picture, and then the Bruin came along and completely shattered the Amax's dreams of becoming the top spot.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Hello?
He needs some milk!
But on that note, the Bruin now has been nerfed. It's still good, but the Amax is there, it's in the background, it's lurking, it's waiting for its chance to pounce, and I think the time has come. Has the Amax become the king of Warzone? I think it's pretty safe to say, maybe. It's definitely up there, and for that reason we're going to take a look at it, so stick around if you want to see the best attachments to put on this Amax. If you enjoy the video and find the build helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it down below. Let me know what you think of the Amax in the comments, and as always feel free to subscribe to the channel for all of the latest Call of Duty news, tips and tricks, how-tos, class setups and much more. Let's jump on and have a look at the Gunsmith for the Amax. So before we jump into the attachments, I just want to have a quick look at the class setup I'm running. So on my earlier videos, I did used to go through the complete class setup, but I tend not to now because things don't really change. I like to run a melee weapon, obviously if you like a secondary, that's fine, but I run EOD, Ghost, Shrapnel, Semtex and the Heartbeat Sensor. For me, that's my perfect Warzone class, and I do not change those perks at all. Let me know down in the comments below what perks you use for Warzone. So with that out the way, let's jump on and have a look at the Gunsmith. So this build is absolutely nothing out of the ordinary, and I don't really know why I didn't make this build in my first video on the Amax. It's standard. You've got the monolithic suppressor, that's going to give us that damage range and sound suppression. Then we've got the longest barrel, again for the damage range, the bullet velocity, and it's going to give us some recoil control. But both of them are going to decrease aim down sight speed, kind of forcing you to have encounters at longer distances. To make up for those long encounters, we're going to put the VLK optic on. This is going to magnify our view by 3 times, and it is going to give us some hidden recoil control. I mentioned this in my Grau video. If you want to check that section out, I'll leave a link in the description below and a timestamp so you can just click straight on it and have a look at some of the testing I did with the VLK optic against the base guns. So moving on from the optic, this build is kind of set up for the games I tend to play, which are more duos, trios and quads orientated, so I go for the 45 round mags. It is a little bit less than we're normally used to with the 50 or 60, but this gun hits so hard, it's kind of hard to tell the difference sometimes. And then focusing on the ammo, the 10 round mags are pretty much completely out the window here. Yeah, I can imagine they hit extremely hard, but they're going to be no use to us in Warzone, especially duos, trios and quads. Then moving on to the final attachment in this build, we have the Commando foregrip. So I have spent a lot of time with this gun using different attachments, and you'll see on screen that there might be some gameplay using a Ranger or a Merc or a Commando, and the one I finally settled with is the Commando foregrip. I have done testing in private matches, and the Merc and the Ranger will give you less vertical recoil, but they do tend to bounce more from side to side. So I tend to chuck on the Commando. Yes, it won't reduce vertical recoil as much, but it stops the gun bouncing all over the place, and vertical recoil is pretty easy to control anyway. It's a lot easier to control than side to side bounce. But with that being said, when comparing all of these underbarrels, there isn't one that particularly sticks out. So if you're like me, you prefer the Commando, or if you prefer the Ranger or the Merc foregrip, all of them are still going to do around about the same job, and you're still going to get a decent amount of recoil control from using whichever one you prefer. The Amax is pretty wild without an underbarrel, so as long as there is one on there, then not a lot can go wrong. There we have it. As usual, I'll go through a quick summary just to round everything up. We've got the monolithic suppressor, the XRK Zodiac S440 barrel, the VLK 3x optic, the Commando foregrip, interchangeable between which foregrip you prefer, and then the 45 round mags. So as I mentioned before, this gun is pretty much my go-to in Warzone at the moment. It hits really hard, it does take a bit of time to get used to the recoil patterns, and yes, sometimes if you're a bit rusty on the sticks or you've had a long day at work, then it might be a little bit hard to control, but once you've warmed up, this gun is an absolute animal in Warzone, and anyone close to you is going to get absolutely melted, and depending where you live, they're going to look like a grilled cheese, or they're going to look like a cheese toasty. So there we have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it down below. Let me know what you think of the CR-56 Amax in Warzone and multiplayer. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, this is another addition to the setup series. I think there's about 12 or 13 videos in the playlist now. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link down in the description below to the playlist. We've done the M4, the Grau, the Bruin, any sort of viable gun for Warzone we've had a look at. And as always, feel free to subscribe to the channel for all of the latest Call of Duty news, tips and tricks, how-tos, class setups, and much more.